Hello there, welcome back to Hammer the Backlog. I am Mick, I'm the one who hammers the backlog, and you are joining me this week for the Year 2 annual review for the Hammer the Backlog project. I bet you bloody didn't think I'd make it to 2 years, but I did. Look at all these minis, so many of them, all painted in the second year of an ongoing project to paint all of my minis, like these ones. We're going to start this week, as we do every annual review, by looking first of all at quarter 4 of year 2. So in quarter 4, I made it fairly simple on myself. I decided to give myself one painting target and one meta target. If you've been following the Hammer the Backlog project, you know that I have 30 years of unpainted Warhammer and other tabletop gaming minis desperately wanting to be painted. What I do is each year I go into my pile of shame, my massive backlog of unpainted models starting from the late 90s, and I pick enough models that it will take me a year to paint them. Then I break those models down into quarters of 3 months and I set myself painting targets. Then, during the rest of the year, it's my job to keep up with those painting targets, update my blog weekly and make these videos. So this year, in quarter 4, I gave myself a fairly easy task and only set myself one painting and one meta target. The painting target for this quarter was to get the Dark Angel side of the 2012 Warhammer 40k starter box set Dark Vengeance fully painted, photographed and online. The meta target, and I always have a meta target, was to get the annual review video prepped for filming, then filmed, edited, uploaded to YouTube and shared. So with only 2 targets, it should have been a fairly simple quarter, right? Well, let's take a look. First of all, let's take a look at the painting target. The painting target was to get the Dark Angel side of the Dark Vengeance box set painted. And I'm very happy to report, as per usual, 2 years in, 8 quarters done, and still we haven't missed a painting target. The Dark Angel side of the Dark Vengeance box set fully painted in the last quarter. Let's take a little look at them and I'll show you some of the work that I did over the last few weeks. The first models I painted were these 5 Deathwing Terminators. I started these models back in 2012. I undercoated them in a white spray, I think, and then put them away for a couple of months. A few years later, I remembered I'd put them away for a couple of months, and when contrast paints came out, I gave them a little dash of Skeleton Horde and started working on them. But like everything else I've ever started pre-Hammer the Backlog, I didn't finish them. That meant that when I dragged them out to paint them for this quarter, they were about 20% done already with some of their base colors down. But now they're fully done, 100% done. I'm really glad the amount of effort I put into this Sergeant's Power Sword, because that meant I had to keep the same level of effort up on all of the other power swords in the army, and that was, to put it gently, trying. The second set of models I painted this quarter were the Tactical Marines from the box set. 10 standard, old-fashioned, firstborn small boys. I've always had a bit of an inkling towards doing Dark Angels. I like the dark green color scheme with the yellowish highlights. I like how it contrasts with the red. I just think it's a really nice scheme. In fact, these models have pretty much every one of my favorite colors to paint. Red, bone, blue, green, metals, gold, and white. The next models that got painted this quarter were the Raven Wing. That's the bikey boys, isn't it? Yeah. The Raven Wing Bikers. One of the most fun things about painting the Dark Angels for this set was that because they have Deathwing, Normal Wing and Raven Wing, you get to paint lots of different color schemes. So it was fun painting the bone of the Deathwing, the green of the Tactical Marines, and then the black of the Raven Wing. Once again, I painted the inside of this Sergeant's robes with my absolute favourite colour of the new contrast range, Sigvald Burgundy, and looked for any other excuse I could to paint it on these models this quarter. The final 3 models we painted were the 3 command figures. We had the Company Master with his fabulously glowing power sword. We had the librarian with his rune-inscribed force weapon, and then we had the, to my surprise, surprisingly limited edition chaplain with his amazingly cool cloak and Crozius Arcanum, I think it's called, Arcanium, the stick thing. And his, to be fair, my least favorite thing on these models is modeled on smoke. If you've ever read the Hammer the Backlog blog, you know I'm not a huge fan of having effects modeled onto my models. I'd rather imply it with painting rather than having something non-physical be there on the physical model. Although smoke is physical, I suppose. But it's kind of transparent. It's not, you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Am I mad? Is this a mad thing that bothers me? Or there's spit coming out of my mouth onto the model? Is this a mad thing that bothers me, or does this bother lots of people? Anyway, altogether, the Dark Angels are a lovely, fun little force. They were quite fun to paint. Fun enough to paint that I'm actually considering the next time I do Space Marines, maybe when I'm doing the Assault on Black Reach box, they're probably going to be Dark Angels too. The meta target for this quarter was to get the annual review video prepared, filmed, edited, and uploaded. At this exact moment, I can tell you that that's not done because the models for the annual review are over there, and the video that's going to be the annual review is there in that camera. I'm going to do it after this, so I assume I'm going to get it done, unless I'm struck by lightning or the stress of doing this just finally makes me snap. No, I'm fine, I'm good. So let's assume that I got that done as well. That means quarter 4 of year 2 of Hammer the Backlog, another unmitigated success. So for the next part of the video, let's take a look at year 2 in total. For year 2, I had 5 targets. The first target was to get the Dark Vengeance box set, painted, photographed, and online. And if you've been following along, you know that this quarter, in quarter 4, I got the Space Marine side painted, and in quarter 3, I got the Chaos sides painted. I got the Hellbrute, the 6 Chaos Space Marines, the Lord, and the 20 Cultists. So that's one for the whole year ticked off. Dark Vengeance, painted, photographed, and online. The second painting target for year 2 of Hammer the Backlog was to get my Blood Bowl 3rd edition set painted, photographed, and online. I got my human models painted quite early in the year, and I got my orc models painted a little bit after that. These were an absolute joy to paint. Old, monopose, simple, plastic, low detail minis, but full of character and sturdy and unbreakable and just screaming old Hammer. I enjoyed these so much, I actually ended up making a Learn to Play Blood Bowl 3rd edition video, which you can watch by clicking the little linky dinky that's appearing somewhere around here. Click the little linky dinky. The third target for year 2 of Hammer the Backlog was to get my Dogs of War starter set army painted, photographed, and online. If you watched the first video of this year where I talked about setting up these targets, you might remember that obviously there was no starter box set with Dogs of War. So I put a little starter army together from my pile of shame with 2 blocks of pikemen, a block of archers, a block of halfling archers, a general, and a war machine, one of Bronzio's Galloper guns. These models were absolutely fantastic fun to paint. Classic metal, white metal minis, almost exclusively designed by the Perry twins. These were really fabulous. I really enjoyed them. They were some of the first models I ever bought and owned and put together, and they finally got a coat of paint that I think that they've always deserved. The last painting target of the year was to get my 3D printed Fabelzell Chaos Dwarf army painted, photographed, and online. These were, for me, the absolute highlight of the year. I loved painting these models. They make me look like a much better painter than I am. They are really crisply detailed, designed completely in imitation of the Perry twins style from the original Chaos Warriors from 4th edition Warhammer, but with a modern twist. They are absolutely gorgeous models. The paint just flowed onto them. I loved every second of painting these. In fact, after some careful consideration, I think I'm happy to say that my favorite model that I painted this year in year 2 of Hammer the Backlog was my Chaos Dwarf Sorcerer Lord on Lamassu. I absolutely love him, and even though I showed him in my Chaos Dwarf painting video a few months ago, I'm going to pop him up here again so you can cop a look at him. I just love this model, he's just fabulous. So that was all of the painting targets that I did in year 2 of Hammer the Backlog, but sometimes I do things that are a little bit outside the targets because I have to stop myself from going mental. So I did 2 main non-target related painting activities this year. The first was to paint up a bunch of these Old Realm Forge dwarf thunderers or quarrelers. No, thunderers is right, isn't it? They have guns, marksmen of some sort. These models are 3D prints from Old Realm Forge. Simone is one of the best dwarf designers I've ever seen. I helped him out a little bit in his Kickstarter by painting some of these up, which was a really fun challenge for me, setting a deadline with a product that had to be delivered, and I absolutely loved these models. Probably my biggest regret of year 2 of Hammer the Backlog was I had so many painting targets that I wasn't able to really dive into this collection and paint up some of the warriors, some of the crossbowmen. He has some cavalry. I just love these models and I'd love to get into them a little bit more. Ignore that. That's me, not you. The only other non-painting target related painting that I did this year was to paint up my friend's Dark Heresy 1st edition roleplay group's character models. These are a combination of official Warhammer models, official 40k bits, some Warhammer Fantasy bits, some 3D printed bits from Thingiverse and from lots of different creators. It's too much to get into now to explain exactly how these were put together, but these were great fun, and one of the highlights of my gaming year and one of the highlights of my painting year was when our Dark Heresy group, which I DM for, came over to my house at Christmas and we played a live game and we used these models and they sallied forth into the depths of the Underhive and encountered all sorts of gribbly grobblies. So that's it for painting targets for Hammer the Backlog year 2, but there were some other major non-painting targets too. The big one was to get my Warhammer Fantasy 5th edition starter set video made. In the end, I decided to make 2 videos. I made one video, which was an introduction to the 5th edition starter set and a basic outline of the rules. That you can watch by clicking the little linky dink somewhere around here. Where's the linky dink? And then I made probably my favorite video that I've ever made, and possibly the 2nd or 3rd most viewed video on this channel. I made the Wrath of Tlaxtlan video battle report. This was amazing fun to both play, record, edit and upload. My arch nemesis and good friend Dr. Jim came over to my house, we played the battle and then we recreated it for the video, and it was great fun. And the support and feedback I got from the Warhammer Fantasy community was fantastic. Not too many Warhammer Fantasy 5th edition battle reports on YouTube. So that's it for Hammer the Backlog year 2. It would be great if you could go back and watch the year 2 planning session, because if you watch that, you will see that everything that I said I was planning to do for year 2, I have fully achieved. I think I might be the first ever Warhammer YouTuber to set targets on their pile of shame and come back a year later and actually have done them. Don't at me on that. Just don't at me. Unless you want to at me. Look, I'll have a fight on the internet with anyone. It's grand. As with every annual review video, this video is actually part 1 in a 2-parter, because the next video will be looking at the year 3 target setting and the year 3 quarter 1 rock setting. If you'd like to see that, please subscribe and set yourself a little reminder. That will be up on this channel a day or 2 after this one. If you've enjoyed this whole process, you can follow the blog. The blog is weekly at www.hammerthebacklog.com. On that blog, I talk about the targets, I talk about my weekly progress in painting, and I upload every week the models that I've painted. Hammer the Backlog is also on Instagram. On Instagram, none of this target setting stuff is there. It's just the shiny models. So if you want to see the models as and when I paint them, please do follow Hammer_the_backlog on Instagram. Thank you very much for watching this though. I will see you in a couple of days for the Hammer the Backlog Year 3 target setting session, which I'm going to do just now. I'm actually just going to clear this table off and then I'm going to do that. And that's great, isn't it? Woo! Thanks for watching. See ya.